Good morning. Today, in such methodology, we are discussing statistical analysis and its importance and also the significance of interpretation after statistical analysis. So, what is statistical analysis? A statistical investigation essentially involves the collection of and interpretation of large volume of numerical information or data. So, a researcher who collected a lump of or enormous quantity of informations throughout the period of the study, which is collected togetherly, and thus in turn is completed in 5 major steps, namely collection, organization, presentation, analysis, interpretation of data are the 5 major steps involved in statistical analysis. So, a good researcher must aware about all these 5 steps before starting the research work also. Then only a good statistical analysis and thereby a good interpretation and with a very bright and brief and clear conclusion must be developed or created from the overall research process. So here we can see there are all these 5 informations or major steps which are togetherly called statistical method. Okay, so here we can see the first one is statistical data. Data are the consolidated facts and numerical informations which denote the qualitative or quantitative attributes of a variable or a set of variables. Variables are nothing but variable is a changing quantity or characteristic which varies in magnitude or measurement. Example like number of children in different families, height, weight, income, expenditure, etc. Similar things are taken as variable. So, variable is either the number of children is taken from a class or the students' economic background is another variable, and students' attitude is another variable, and students' mark is another variable. So these are all the different examples for variables. So variables are to be predetermined and pre-interpreted by the researcher to make a good statistical data. Okay, based on source, data are classified into primary and secondary data, and based on their qualities or attributes, they are classified into qualitative and quantitative data. So it is important that the data are classified into primary data. Primary data is nothing but it is actually the information collected or observed from the experimentation or the research work, and secondary data which is collected from the review of literature also. In such a way, we can see the primary data is actually the information observed by the researcher, and secondary data is collected from those who previously reported or previously recorded one. Okay, and the based on their qualities, that is or attributes, they are classified into qualitative and quantitative data. So that level the information which are collected for the statistical analysis, and the quantitative data are the data which are not quantified and hence cannot be measured in terms of physical units and cannot be counted in terms of number. So it is the quality. Quality means what we remember, that the smell or the color or quality. So these are all the qualitative data which are not to be numbered. And while morphological or physiological or behavioral features are examples for these qualitative data, and the quantitative data on the other hand are measurable, that is a height, weight, income, expenditure, or are examples for the quantitative data. So those are quantitative data are the measurable ones. And second, it is overall explained in the statistical data. And coming to the statistical analysis, second one is collection of data. Collection of data is the first and foremost step in statistical investigation, since it forms the cornerstone of statistical analysis. Why it is the cornerstone? Because the collection of data is a mandate or required for the appropriate statistical analysis. And here we can see it forms the cornerstone and of statistical analysis, and the utmost care should be taken and accuracy should be maintained in collecting data. So the sharp observation and clear-cut collection of information or data is mandate. Okay, if the data are not accurate, the conclusion drawn on their basis can never be reliable. So the accurate observation and collection of data is very much important in research work. The data may be collected directly by the investigator, not by a mediator, or may be obtained from publisher or unpublished sources. So if it is a primary data, that should be collected by the investigator, and if it is a secondary data, that should be either published or unpublished from a printed source is must. Then only a good conclusion or results should be found out. Okay, then the third one is organization of data. It is also the part of statistical analysis. How to organize those information or data which is collected throughout the study should be organized in an appropriate or systematic way. The data collected from readily available published sources may be in an organized format. Okay, and the first step in properly organizing a group of data, which is called editing. So the organization of data requires an appropriate or clear editing. That is, it is nothing but not only the correction or manipulation, but the chronological approach is called editing in organization of data. And the next step of the classification of edited data, that is, the classification is the grouping of data based on some common characteristics. So similar characteristic features togetherly organized or edited, and the other characteristic features should be in another set. That is the organization of data process. And coming to the last step in organization is tabulation. So first one is the appropriate organization and editing of data. Second one is classification of data, and the third one is organization is tabulation. Tabulation means this is the arrangement of the data in column and rows so that there is an absolute clarity in the data presented. So those informations or data are tabulated in the table format in a proper way or in a systematic way. So that is the third criteria coming under organization of data. And next, fourth type of statistical analysis, the process is called the presentation of data. Tables are not reader friendly, and even though they contain all the information. So a big table is with enormous quantity of information. So it is not at all easy to read out, and therefore the data are presented more attractively in the form of diagram or graph. So all the information or the entire research work, the report contain only table format. It is mere boring, and also what happened, it is not at all easy to read out or find out by the reader. So it should be in the varied level, those information or data should be presented. So presentation of data is more important and should be attractive. It is self-explanatory, and adding by diagram or graph is more effective. And next, coming to the fourth level, that is analysis of data. So in statistical analysis, analysis of data is more important, and methods for analysis of data are numerous. Or that is, various kinds of analysis of data is available, and ranking from simple observation of the data to complicated one, and sophisticated and highly mathematical techniques to bring out the hidden facts and principles. So in a process, the analysis of data should include either it is the significance or difference, regression, correlation, and the ranking level. All these are coming under analysis of data. So various process or steps are there, or procedures are there in analysis of data that should be appropriately added in analysis. And there one chronology should be maintained. It is from the simple observation should be given first, and the complicated one is gradually accompanying with the simple one. That is the chronology also maintained in an analysis of data process. And next one is, that is last one of statistical analysis step, is interpretation of data. The last step in statistical investigation is the interpretation of data. The results obtained from the analysis of statistical data have to be accurately and elaborately interpreted for drawing inferences, deriving conclusions, and also for preparing the final report. It is already, I just mentioned that interpretation of data is more important, and it is accompanied by or strictly followed by a good statistical analysis. Then only the clear inference which is drawn from the observed or collected numerical data from the research process, then only the interpretation must be easy and clear. And statistical tools are very important in data interpretation because they provide the essential methodology for verifying hypothesis. That is the importance of interpretation of data from statistical analysis. And data interpretation is the detailed explanation of facts and findings of a research study and drawing of inference from experimental and analytical data also. So on the other hand, correct interpretation would produce a reliable conclusion, with which in turn would help in making appropriate decision, that is the solution to the problem which is selected by the researcher. So it is more important as in statistical analysis step. And coming to the significance of interpretation, the data interpretation is very vital in shaping of the final report of a research study. So it is the importance or significance, and some of the significance are the following. Data interpretation brings to light the abstract principles underlying findings, and thereby enables the researcher to make some prediction and generalization. Okay. And the second one is, interpretation may be led to the formulation of concept, which in turn may pave the way for further research on the some problem. And the interpretation of findings of explanatory research often results in hypothesis, which in turn sponsors experimental or hypothesis testing research. And the last significance of interpretation is, data interpretation reveals the relevance, reliability, validity, significance of the findings, so that findings can be accepted or rejected. So this is the importance or significance of statistical analysis. And two more things are there in connection with the statistical analysis is drawing conclusion from data. A research project or systematic arrangement, scientific processing and synthetic analysis of statistical data reveal new facts and yield well-founded conclusions. And the documentation and presentation is the last step. Careful documentation of all details of an experiment and then the reporting of these details in written form are the integral part of high quality research. So it is the important facts of statistical analysis in a research. Okay, thank you.